Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something really crucial in business, but maybe not always visible: financial auditing. Our material comes from Kaplan's Career Center, specifically looking at their insights around interview questions for financial auditors. Think of it as, well, a shortcut for you to understand what these folks actually do. And also the key skills involved, the challenge they face, ensuring financial info is trustworthy. So whether you're maybe considering this career or you work with auditors, or maybe you're just curious about how financial oversight works, well, we're going to unpack what makes it tick.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it, how they're aimed at both the candidates and the companies hiring. They sort of act like a window,
A window, right?
yeah, into the absolute core of the profession. Looking at what gets asked really tells you what's essential in financial auditing today. It's become so critical.
Okay, let's dive right in then. A common question seems to be, can you explain the audit process and your role in it? Now, for a lot of people, audit might sound a bit abstract. So in real terms, what does that process actually look like?
Right. So at its heart, the audit process, as Kaplan lays it out, is really a systematic examination,
hmm
a deep dive into a company's financial records, its reports. The main goal, it's about providing assurance that the numbers are accurate and that the company's playing by the rules, the relevant laws and regulations.
Like a health check for the company's finances.
Exactly. Pretty rigorous and methodical one, yeah.
Yeah.
To verify the financial health, the integrity of the whole organization.
Okay. And within that whole checkup, what's the auditor doing? What are their main jobs?
Well, the auditor has a role that spans a few stages. It usually starts with some really careful planning.
Hmm.
Figure out the scope, what exactly they'll look at, the procedures they'll use, the deadlines.
That's setting the groundwork.
Yeah, precisely. And then a really crucial part is assessing the company's internal controls. Those are the systems, the checks and balances the company itself has put in place to stop mistakes or even fraud.
Yeah.
And finally, it's not just about finding problems. Auditors also give recommendations. They suggest how the company can improve its financial practices, its controls moving forward. So they're kind of looking back, but also guiding the future.
I see. So understanding that whole framework gives you a really solid handle on how financial accountability actually works day to day. Now, we know the financial world, it doesn't exactly stand still, does it? The Kaplan material talks about a rapidly evolving financial landscape. How on earth do auditors keep up with all those changes?
That's a huge part of the job, definitely. And there's an interview question that hits it directly. How do you stay current with changes in accounting standards and regulations?
Huh.
Kaplan's guide suggests, well, a few key strategies. One is just actively reading professional publications. That keeps them in the loop on the latest rules interpretations. Another is going to training sessions, seminars. That's deeper learning, plus networking with other auditors.
We're sharing knowledge.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly, they have to be proactive, always monitoring new laws, new regulations as they come out, understanding how it might impact their work. It's definitely not a field where you can just rest on what you learned last year.
It really sounds like continuous learning is absolutely baked into the job description. Now, I imagine not every audit is smooth sailing. The guide mentions questions about handling challenging audits. What typically makes an audit really difficult?
Yeah, complexity is usually the big one. Kaplan uses the example of, say, a big multinational corporation. Maybe it has really intricate financial systems. It operates in lots of different countries.
Oh, okay. Lots of moving parts.
Exactly. You're dealing with huge amounts of data, potentially different accounting rules in different places, different jurisdictions, right? Plus just inherently complex financial deals. The sheer scale, the web of connections can make these audits incredibly demanding.
Well, okay. So faced with that level of complexity, where does an auditor even begin? What strategies do they use?
Well, according to the guide, two main approaches really come into play. First, there's what's called a risk-based approach.
Risk base.
Yeah. So instead of trying to look at every single transaction, which for a huge company is just impossible, auditors focus their energy. They look at the areas where there's a higher chance of significant mistakes or even fraud. That's the core idea. Put your resources where the risk is highest.
Smart. Makes sense. And the second strategy?
Collaboration, teamwork. Especially in these tough audits, it's vital that the auditors work together. They need to draw on everyone's different knowledge, different experiences on the team to tackle the problems effectively. It really shows how important teamwork and, frankly, problem solving under pressure are.
Right. A complex problem needs a team effort. That tracks. Another really key thing must be identifying and then dealing with any significant issues that pop up during an audit. Can you give us a sense of how that works in practice?
Sure. Kaplan offers a good example. Let's say an auditor finds the company isn't complying with certain tax laws.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens next is critical. First step, clear, direct communication with the company's management, laying out the issue plainly.
No beating around the bush.
Not really, no.
No.
Then the auditor needs to recommend specific corrective actions. What exactly does the company need to do to fix this noncompliance? And importantly, it doesn't stop there. The auditor has to follow up, make sure those recommended changes actually get put into practice.
Ah, the follow-through.
Absolutely. It really highlights that the auditor's job isn't just spotting problems, it's also about driving the changes needed to get the company operating correctly.
So find it, flag it, make sure it's fixed. Got it. Now, auditors often juggle multiple audits, complex findings. How do they keep all those plates spinning? The guide mentions prioritization, project management.
Oh, definitely. Strong organizational skills are just non-negotiable. Kaplan points to the need for setting really clear, specific goals and deadlines for every audit project. That gives structure, keeps everyone on track,
Makes sense.
and then regularly reviewing progress against those deadlines. That helps spot potential delays or, roadblocks early on. Plus, these days, using project management software is often pretty essential. To organize tasks, track everything, manage resources across different audits, it boosts efficiency and accuracy.
Yeah, those sound like skills useful way beyond just auditing, really.
Oh, completely. Managing projects, deadlines, that's universal.
Okay, thinking about today's world, just overflowing with data, I can only imagine the sheer volume of financial information auditors deal with. The guide specifically brings up experience with data analysis and reporting. Why is that so central now?
It's become absolutely indispensable, hasn't it? Modern auditing involves wading through massive data sets. So auditors need the skills to pull out the meaningful insights from all that information. Kaplan mentions tools like Excel, SQL Common Software for collecting, organizing, analyzing these huge data sets.
Right, the technical tools.
Yeah, but the analysis is only, say, half the job. Auditors also have to be able to communicate what they find clearly. That means writing comprehensive reports, maybe giving presentations, making it understandable, actionable for the client, for management.
So translating complex data into something people can actually use.
Exactly. Telling the story the data reveals. It's a truly vital skill in this field, and like you said, incredibly valuable elsewhere too.
No doubt. Okay, one last thing from the guide. It lists several related job titles. Things like account auditor, accountant, accounting consultant, auditor in charge, quite a few. What does seeing that range tell us about the field?
Well, that list really just paints a picture of how broad the whole accounting and auditing world is. While each role might have its own specific focus, its own duties, they're all fundamentally linked
Linked by.
by those core principles.
Mm.
Financial accuracy, sticking to regulations, insightful analysis. It suggests that, if you start a career in financial auditing, it could potentially open doors to lots of different specializations and opportunities within the wider financial sector.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive then, it's really clear that being a good financial auditor today requires, well, a pretty impressive and varied set of skills.
Yeah.
It's much more than just crunching numbers, isn't it?
Oh,
You
absolutely.
need sharp analytical thinking, a deep and constantly updated grasp of all the rules and regulations,
Mm-hmm.
a strong commitment to getting things right,
Mm-hmm.
accuracy, robust problem solving for those complex situations we talked about,
Right.
and crucially, being able to communicate effectively, clearly with all sorts of different people.
You've nailed it. That's a great summary. And, thinking about how complex global finance keeps getting, it does make you wonder, and maybe it's something for you listening to consider. How is this role, the financial auditor's role, going to keep evolving? What new challenges will emerge? How will they adapt to maintain that essential trust and transparency that, well, our whole financial system relies on? It's a critical profession, and watching how it develops, that's definitely something worth keeping an eye on as you navigate the modern economy.